The truth is the truth, even if nobody believes it. And a lie is a lie, even if everybody believes it. This anonymous quote I found, I don't even remember where I found it, but it stopped me in my tracks the first time I heard it. And it cuts straight through our tendency to rationalize, avoid, and bury our heads in the sand. The truth doesn't demand our belief to exist. And lies won't morph into reality no matter how much we wish they would. And yet we often choose the lie, of course. You can read a little bit more about how this works in Gad Saad's book, The Parasitic Mind, if you're interested in things like OPS. And I'm not going to give it away. You got to read the book. Anyways, why do we bury our heads in the sand? Well, because lies are easy and they're comfortable and familiar. Truth, on the other hand, truth is messy. It demands vulnerability, self-reflection, and action. But here's the paradox. While lies may soothe us, they steal our long-term growth and peace. Truth, on the other hand, challenges us, but ultimately, it sets us free. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Voyage Cast. I'm Eddie, your host, and today my goal is to provide you help and hope beyond the office. And today we're tackling a very common problem, one that is as timeless as it is uncomfortable. The tension between comfortable lies and hard truths. And in some respect, I am simply building on my previous episode, Screw Tape and All the Little Lies in Marriage, which you should go listen to, of course. So listen on as we expand on how small untruths can shape our relationships and our lives. The appeal of comfortable lies. Part 1. Why are lies so incredibly tempting? If you've ever told yourself, this will work itself out or I'll deal with it later, you're not alone. Lies act as quick fixes. They wrap us in a warm blanket of denial, making us believe we're okay, even when we're not. Here's a few examples. The personal lie. I'm not good enough to succeed. We accept failure ahead of time to avoid the pain of trying. I unfortunately was prone to this one growing up quite a bit. The relationship lie. This relationship will never improve. We declare defeat rather than doing the hard work of healing and communicating. The social lie. Everyone else believes this, so it must be true. We follow the crowd because it's easier than questioning the narrative. You can see this in spades if you're paying any attention to the political landscape. These lies feel true because they often grow out of pain or past experiences. Imagine a child who grew up in a home where love was conditional. Small wonder they might carry the belief, I'm unlovable, into their adult life. Or consider a couple stuck in conflict, convinced their partner can't change. Lies like these don't just show up. They're built over time in the shadows of fear, self-protection, and misunderstanding, assumptions, and you name it. But here's the catch. Lies may numb the discomfort temporarily, but they also keep us stuck in them. Like wrapping a bandage over an infection. They delay healing rather than fostering growth. Part 2. The power and pain of hard truths. Here's the thing about truth. It's unchanging, whether we like it or not. You can't deny it. You can't avoid it. You can't even rage against it because it sustains no matter what you do. Truth doesn't bend to suit your comfort zone. No matter what you think or feel or imagine about what it should be like, truth is exactly what it is. And that makes it hard. Here are 3 realities about truth. Truth is, of course, mostly uncomfortable. It forces us to confront the unfair expectations, unkind behaviors, and flawed assumptions, often about ourselves. Nobody enjoys admitting they've contributed to their own suffering, but it might be true. Truth is action-oriented. Hard truths demand change. They ask us to release the familiar lies that make us feel safe, even if those lies are harming us. That's kind of the weird part about lies, isn't it? we tend to wrap ourselves in them like a warm blanket because it's comfortable. It's what we know. It's what we grew up with. It's what we've always believed about all the things that we see, think, feel, and perceive. But it's still a lie. Truth is freeing. Once you step into honesty, the mental clarity and inner peace it brings are worth every moment of discomfort. Eventually. Consider this biblical passage. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I hear this passage a lot. And here, Jesus is emphasizing the importance of abiding in his teachings as a mark of true discipleship. The truth he refers to is not just factual knowledge, but the deeper spiritual truth found in him and his message. This truth leads to spiritual freedom, freedom from sin, deception, and the bondage of the law, which I find quite interesting. Because for thousands of years, people have been reading these scriptures, encouraged to turn away ultimately from lies, from false truths. And yet we relegate these scriptures or these ideas or these ancient wisdoms as below us in some kind of way because they don't connect with our modern sentiments. But understand, freedom doesn't mean life becomes perfect or pain-free. It means you no longer are bound by illusions. You can see reality clearly and take steps towards genuine healing, connection, and growth. And it is at this point that you can now have healthy relationships. As I see with so many of my couples, when you are wrapped in those comforting, warm blankets of lies, you cannot have healthy relationships. They are total barriers. But how do we untangle ourselves from these lies? How do you stop clinging to these wonderfully comfortable lies that are limiting you? Well, this is where part 3 comes in. How to recognize and confront your lies. The first step, honestly, it's radical, unapologetic honesty. Ask yourself, what beliefs about myself or my life feel heavy, hopeless, or draining? Where did those beliefs come from? Are they rooted in truth? Or shaped by fear, past wounds, or social pressures, or influences even? Do these beliefs encourage freedom and growth, or keep me feeling stuck? Do these beliefs suppress new ideas, thoughts, or even different beliefs? Here's an uncomfortable truth about lies. They love silence. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear it. I'm not in the mood to talk about this. I don't want to hear this again. Why do you always have to bring this up? It's such a waste of time. That happened like 3 years ago. Who even cares at this point? Are just a few examples. But here's the thing. The longer you avoid addressing them, the deeper their roots grow. Lies thrive in the dark, but truth demands light. 3 ways to walk towards truth. 1. Radical honesty. It's tough to admit when you've built parts of your life or even an entire relationship, political ideologies, or whatever around lies. But real change only begins when you're honest about your starting point. Ask yourself the hard questions and don't shy away from the answers. Some hard questions I often encourage people to ask is, how have I come to know this? How have I come to believe this? Can I trust those in my life to give me the truth? And how have they come to know it? I'm not saying we have to go into some kind of infinite regress of questions, but we do need to ask these questions so we can root out the truth. Number 2, seek reflection from others. Sometimes the lies we tell ourselves are so deeply ingrained, we can't even see them. Trusted friends, counselors, or partners can act as mirrors, reflecting back what we can't recognize on our own. This is so vital.
Number 3.
Release the familiar. Lies, even harmful ones, feel comfortable because they're familiar. Truth asks you to give them up, and that often hurts. We have to put down the warm blanket, guys. But the freedom that follows, the truth, the clarity, God, I think it's really worth the discomfort. I really believe this. So here's a quick scenario, or vignette if you would like, a real-life example. Meet Serafina and Michelangelo. Aren't those awesome names? A married couple who have been drifting apart for years. Their once vibrant connection has been replaced by silence, frustration, and assumptions. Serafina feels like Michelangelo is emotionally unavailable and assumes he doesn't care about us anymore. Michelangelo, on the other hand, believes no matter what I do, it's never enough for her. These unspoken beliefs build walls between them, fueling resentment and creating distance. And after one particularly tense argument, where both walked away feeling even more misunderstood, they decide to try marriage counseling as a last resort, which is super common and where I often get my couples from as the last resort. In their first session, the counselor encourages them to share their raw, unfiltered truths to get a better understanding and an assessment of what's really going on. Well, this is uncomfortable at first, but as they dig deeper, surprising realizations come to light. Serafina confesses that she feels overwhelmed managing work, the household, and their 2 kids, leaving her way too exhausted to express any kind of affection.
That's right.
Michelangelo reveals that he pulls back emotionally because he's afraid of making things worse and feels unappreciated for his efforts.
This sounds familiar.
For the first time in years, they see through each other's pain rather than their own assumptions. And they probably will stop attacking each other since they better understand what the core experience is. And by the way, those 2 experiences are extremely common. So this doesn't magically solve their problems, of course. They still have work to do, learning how to communicate, rebuild trust, and create new habits of connection. But understanding the truth gives them something their lies never could: hope. It's not an overnight fix, of course, but it's a starting point. A shared recognition that they both care and are willing to fight for their relationship, because that's really what it is. Over time, it's a fight to make it work, not a fight against each other. Lies, on the other hand, keep couples trapped in the fight, in resentment, and totally hopeless. Truth, though hard to confront, opens doors. It shows you the path forward. Part 4, the final word. Truth doesn't need to be believed to exist. Lies don't become reality just because they're comfortable or popular. Truth waits, unwavering, ready for you to confront, accept, and act on it. Here's my challenge to you.
Consider this.
What truths have you been avoiding? What lies have taken root in your relationships, career, or sense of self-worth? Or even your marriage, of course. Are you ready to face those truths? Even if it stings, even if there are consequences, because life is too short to live trapped by comfortable lies. Truth is hard. It demands courage, vulnerability, and action. But the peace and freedom it brings, that's something no lie could ever offer. All right, well, thanks for tuning into the Voyage Cast today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with somebody who might need it. And if you're feeling brave, take the next step. Journal, meditate, talk to someone you trust, get a counselor, something. And whatever you do, just face these truths. Remember, truth doesn't need your permission to exist, but choosing it, that can change everything. Hey, thanks again for listening to the Voyage Cast. And if you did like this, remember to give us a 5-star review, share us with your friends and family. And if you're feeling a little extra generous, join us on Patreon, because that does help us continue to make this content for you.